So the top mistake people make is the easiest to avoid, and it's simply answer every question. Every time I look at practice tests of students, I see that they left questions blank. You're not punished for incorrect answers on the IELTS. If you get it wrong, you don't get a point. If you leave it blank, you don't get a point. You might as well guess, especially on true, false, not given, or multiple choice questions. Just write down a letter or type in a word, whatever you have to do. Make sure you answer every question. The second biggest problem is that students don't read the directions. If it says one word and or a number, you can only write one word and a number. If it says no less than 2 words and or a number, you can only write 1 word, 2 words, 1 word and a number, or 2 words and a number. You'd be shocked to find out how many students don't read this in the instructions. Make sure you read the instructions and miss questions that they could have otherwise got. The third thing is on the speaking test. What students will do is they'll say, I don't understand, when they don't understand the question. Or even worse, they'll stay silent. Some students even shrug their shoulders like this. What are you asking me? The examiner might ask something like, what type of people would make good healthcare professionals? Or what type of jobs do people help people in? And students say, I don't understand. What you can do is you can say, could you please repeat that? And you can say that once, and that's okay. You're not going to lose points on the speaking test for doing that. Or even better, you could say, do you mean like jobs that people get paid for? Try to clarify the question. Your score will probably improve if you do that. Ask a question about the question to try to get a better understanding. Another big problem on the speaking test is one-word answers. Never answer with one word only. Always tell the examiner who, what, when, where, why, how. If the examiner asks you, do you like cooking? You don't just say, yes, and then pause. That's a terrible idea. Say, yes, I like cooking, and I enjoy cooking pizza for my family. I started cooking when I was 7 years old. I've been doing it for a long time. My family loves it when I cook pizza for them. Just keep talking more and more and more. Give as many details as you can. If you're giving 1, 2, 3, or 4 word answers, you're not doing this right. Just keep going and going and going. Number 5, on the speaking test, so many students speak way too informally. You have to imagine that the interviewer is like your teacher or someone you really respect, the principal at your school. You can't use slang or informal language during the speaking test. If they ask you, well, what do you like about your hometown? And you say, oh, the people are really chill. No cap, mister, we really chill. No, that's not gonna work. And every group has their own slang words that they use. You wanna use very formal language. You don't have to be incredibly formal. You can still be yourself and talk normally, but imagine that the teacher was somebody, the interviewer was your teacher or your principal at school or someone like that. Don't use any slang or informal language. Please, don't be that guy.
Avoidable mistake number 6 is reading the entire passage on the reading section before reading the question. This one is a huge game changer. A lot of students don't know this. You shouldn't read the entire passage first. The questions go in order. Read the questions first. Start with number 1, then look for the answer in the passage. Then go to number 2, then look for the answer in the passage. Then go to number 3, then look for the answer in the passage. The IELTS test is always going to follow this format every time. Don't know what reading passage you're going to get. You can't memorize your way through it, but it will follow certain patterns each time. So let me demonstrate this to you. So this is a sample IELTS passage right here. And this right here will take you at least 10 to 15 minutes to read if you're good. You don't want to waste time doing that. You're never going to get through every passage if you do it like that. Instead of taking all the time to read this and then going to the questions, oh, I don't know, I don't remember, I would probably get most of the questions wrong if I did it like that. And I'm a native speaker. Instead, you have to follow this pattern. Start with number one. It says Charisse's trip to the South Pole is well known to other explorers. Okay, that's probably going to be in the first passage. And it is right here. It says his part in one of the greatest adventure stories of the 20th century is hardly known outside his own country. Oh, that would mean Charisse's trip is well known to other explorers. That would make that false if his trip is hardly known. Okay, that was right at the beginning of the passage. Then I would go to number two. Since Charisse arrived in Antarctica, smaller ships have also made the journey. That might be in this paragraph. It might be here. I'll continue where I left off. Yet as Scott was nearing the pole and the world is still unaware of blah, 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 Charisse and his team sailed into Antarctica's Bay of Whales in the smallest ship ever. Oh, they sailed into Antarctica's Bay in the smallest ship ever. What would that mean? Since Sharif arrived in Antarctica, smaller ships have also made the journey? No. It said he came in the smallest ship ever. That was the answer to number two. Then we move on to number three. Charisse's original ambition was to travel to the North Pole. Okay, since boyhood, Charisse had dreamed of becoming a polar explorer. Like Amundsen, he initially set his sights on the North Pole. Oh, he initially set his sights on the North Pole. That means he wanted to go to the North Pole first. So his original ambition was to travel to the North Pole. That would be true. If you try to read all of this and then go to the questions, you're wasting valuable time. You're going to overload yourself with information. You don't have to do that. On the reading passage, always go to the questions first and then find the answers. They're going to follow 1, 2, 3, 4. Every time it's going to give you that pattern. Another big problem is spending too much time on one question. If you don't know the answer to the question, just guess. Make sure you put something down because you might get lucky. You never know. And move on. Maybe you can mark it if you have time later and come back to it. But you don't have to get every question right on the IELTS exam. It's not like a normal test where if you miss 50% of the questions, you fail the test. No, you're expected to get questions wrong on this exam. So never spend too much time on one question. This is how the scoring works on the academic reading and the academic listening, where you're going to get 40 questions on each section. And if you look right here, 6.5, which is what most students want to aim for, you only have to get 27 to 29 questions correct. You're allowed to miss some. You're expected to miss some. On the listening, I think it's even more. To get a 6.5, you only need 26 or 29 correct. So, and that's a really high score. 6.5 on the IELTS is pretty impressive. Don't worry about missing some questions. If you don't know, just guess and move on. Never waste valuable time. There are going to be easier questions later on that you can get that you would miss if you spend too much time on the hard one. Another huge problem that a lot of students run into is they don't check the spelling. The IELTS has you type answers in and you have to spell the word correctly. If the computer sees that you spelled the word incorrectly, it's just going to mark it wrong, even if you're really close. The computer can't tell the difference between correctly spelled words and incorrectly spelled words. But on the reading section, you have an advantage. The word you need is always in the passage. So make sure you copy the word from the passage and you'll get the right spelling. Hello. Don't make this mistake. It's very avoidable. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. In this question, it says, which artifacts mentioned are the oldest? It's going to be right at the beginning because it's question number one. South Africa's Blombos Clave lies, blah, 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 blah. It's known for its 75,000-year-old rich deposits of artifacts such as beads, bone tools, and ochre engravings. So it just mentioned three types of artifacts: beads, bone tools, and ochre engravings. And then it says some engravings date back as far back as 100,000 years. So the oldest of the three it mentioned would be the engravings, since they date back 100,000 years. So your answer would be engravings. Now, if you spelled that incorrectly, I don't know, maybe you put an I here instead of an E, engravings, it sounds like that with an American accent. Or, I don't know, maybe you forgot the S, or you made a typo or something like that. Even though you knew the answer, you comprehended the passage correctly, you got the answer right, the computer would still mark it wrong. So what you do is you just copy the word directly from the passage. Students say, but I don't know how to spell engravings. Well, it's in the passage. Copy what you see exactly from the passage. Make sure you're checking your spelling because you might be missing out on points you would have otherwise received. Avoidable mistake number 9, and this one's also a game changer, is doing the writing task 1 before you do the writing task 2. The IELTS exam comes with 2 writing tasks. In writing task 1, you have to describe a picture or a diagram or something like that. And on writing task 2, you have to give your opinion and write a full 5-paragraph essay. What students do is they spend all of their time on writing task 1, which is only worth 1/3 of the total score, and then they run out of time on task 2, which is worth 2/3 your total score on the writing task. So if you're a smart student and you're really prepared for this and you're not making avoidable mistakes, what you do is you go right to writing task 2 because that's worth way more. Make sure you do a good job on writing task 2, do that first, and then save like 10 minutes or so or 15 minutes out of the hour that you get on the writing exam to go to writing task 1 because it's not worth as much.
Number 10, and this is the biggest mistake. So many students try to do it alone. They buy a book, they study, they spend hours and hours and hours studying, and they could be studying the wrong material. There are people that have done this before you. There are experts on this test that can help you get to that next level. 2 or 3 hours with an expert who can point out the problems that you have is more productive than 20 or 30 hours studying alone. And if you can't hire a tutor, I understand that. Join a group, talk to your friends, talk to people who have taken the test before you, look at online forums, join my IELTS inspiration group where people are sharing their experiences and I'm sharing free material. Trying to do things on your own is very inefficient. You're smart on your own, but when you're in a group of other smart people, your potential enhances massively. A group of people is always smarter than one person alone. So don't try to do this on your own. Find support and you're going to get a lot further.